Hey guys, welcome to The Strong Young Man. Are you aware of how much time you waste in your day-to-day life? Are you confused when you see people achieving so much more than you in the same 24 hours? Do you marvel at people when they're able to get so much done in a shorter time frame than it took you? Understand that the individuals that seem omnipotent in this manner are optimizing their time in a much better way than you are. Lack of optimization is an inherent time loss and can be more prominent than you think. Working at 90% efficiency, wasting 10% efficiency drawn out over the entire day will cost you hours. I'm not talking about the deliberate time-wasting activities such as TV or video games. It's pretty clear that this activity does not add value to your life. The waste that I'm talking about is everything that does not add value to your life, including non-value added tasks within value added activities. Just because you are doing something that adds value to your life does not mean that every single aspect of that activity is a value added activity. Most people never get close to this level of optimization, but the ability to do so on a consistent basis will see you recover hours each day, which you can use to achieve more in the same time frame. Toyota first conceptualized this concept and called it lean manufacturing. This is what made it one of the best manufacturers to emerge in the 20th century. Of course, all manufacturers have adopted lean manufacturing now, and this is why car prices have come down so much in the last 40 years, despite ever-increasing technology. The Toyota way emphasises a continuous improvement mindset where you continually identify waste and eliminate it. To do this, Toyota look at the timeline from the moment a customer places an order to the point when they collect the cash. They map this timeline out on a value stream map. Upon analysis, Toyota eliminates the non-value added activities within the value added activities, streamlining the process. Eliminating the non-value added activities reduces the timeline and hence increases the efficiency. Whenever you are participating in a value-added activity, there is always non-value-added activities that make up part of the task. You must identify all these non-value-added activities and reduce them, or preferably, eliminate them. Practicing this over time will refine this skill to the point where you become unbelievably efficient compared to others. The skill you are refining can be called lean thinking or waste management. Waste takes 8 forms in the manufacturing industry, and these all appear in real-world circumstances. Here are the 8 forms of waste and how to manage them. Waste number 1. Waiting. Waiting in the manufacturing industry is defined as any period on the production line where a worker is idle. In your application, waiting means any time that you are doing nothing or doing something that is not maximising the use of your time. Waiting is the most obvious time waster, and for the extremely efficient, it can be the most debilitating. Waiting most obviously is throwing away minutes of the day that could be used for something productive. Waiting also breaks momentum, disrupting the flow of your work, which can cost you time getting back into the groove of the activity. Learn to restructure your day around time that minimises waiting, or eliminate it completely. Examples of this are, don't drive places in peak hour. Go to the shops early in the morning when it's quiet so you don't have to wait in line. Do something else while the kettle is boiling. Pay to remove ads on YouTube. Enforce strict timing to avoid waiting for people. And invest in a faster internet connection to minimise loading time. Eliminate any form of waiting where possible. If it's not possible, reduce or learn to fill these waiting periods with other value-added activities to maximise the use of dead time. Reflect, process emotions or thoughts, listen to audiobooks or call a friend to catch up. Do anything in this time that adds value to your life. Don't fill this time by scrolling on Instagram. This is as good as doing nothing. The higher level of this concept is to multitask. Yes, you may be cleaning the house, but what can you do with the other parts of your body? Use your mouth to communicate with a friend, your ears to listen to an audiobook, or your mind to process thoughts and emotions. This is the essence of smart multitasking covered in episode 9. Tactically combine a recessive task with a dominant task that uses a different sense in order to double your efficiency. Waste number 2, overproduction. Overproduction in the manufacturing industry is defined as making too much product that is unnecessary. Overproduction actually drives 6 of the other types of waste as well. The waste associated with overproduction comes from wasting time producing excess stock, waiting for the excess stock to be built, wasting time sorting the excess stock, and moving and then storing the excess stock. If a defect is found, more stock will need to be reworked. In your application, you must pay strict attention to any form of overproduction, only making or buying exactly what you need. Examples of overproduction that you must control include preparing too much food. It will take longer to cook and it will just go to waste. Remember, food can be made in batches to streamline the process over the long run. How much food can you make to optimise reducing cooking time while not scrapping the food due to spoil? Target this maximum to minimise waste of time, money, space and resources. Buying excess of anything you don't need, such as a second TV, a second refrigerator, etc. Waste number 3, defects. Defects in the manufacturing industry refers to correcting errors or defects in the manufacturing product. This concept is not all that different to non-engineering related wastes. Buying a quality, reliable product is one example of this. You can cheap out and buy a crap washing machine that breaks, or you can buy a more reliable product that will save you time getting a new machine, money paying to get a new machine, money and hassles to get rid of the machine, and hassles washing your clothes at a laundromat until you get a new machine. How much time are you spending spinning your wheels, correcting your own mistakes? This is a waste that can absolutely cripple you if you are not careful. It's imperative that you take the time to get something right the first time. Sometimes longer is shorter. A task should take as long as it needs to get it done properly. Put in the time required and think long term. What good is it if you empty the dishwasher with an increased speed only to break a glass in the process and then have to spend time cleaning up and perhaps going out to purchase a replacement? Do things properly and carefully at the fastest speed that you are capable of. Not making mistakes becomes increasingly important when you're engaging in a task that has multiple stages, each feeding into the other. Understand that the cost of correcting your mistakes increases exponentially as you near the completion of your task. This graph is taken from engineering systems development and its associated cost of mistakes. In engineering design and development of any system, the rework cost of a design change or a design error increases exponentially as you move through each step of the development. This is because the rework of any given step is equal to the sum of the cost of all the previous steps done over again. Interestingly, it is also far more likely that you will find more mistakes early on in a development rather than later. Since it is far more likely and far more beneficial to find and fix issues early on, good engineers engage in many daily peer reviews early on in a development to root out all the issues while the cost of rework is low. Every defect or mistake will cost you something: time, money, space, reputation, opportunities, or extra burden. Learn to spend extra time in the early phases of your development, task, a project, or other endeavour in order to minimise the cost of correcting your mistakes. Toyota actually stopped the production line the moment a defect is found, and you should adopt the same attitude. Fix your mistake the moment you find it, and never say you will fix it later. Waste number 4, motion. Motion in the manufacturing industry is defined as any motion by the individual that does not add value to the manufacturing process. Collecting a tool, a part, or a document are all examples that companies like Toyota aim to minimise. Any unnecessary form of movement that you do should be eliminated, and any movement that you have to do should be marginalised as much as possible. Examples of this include ordering your tasks so that one flows onto the next, minimising movement between the two, grouping tasks together that use the same tools in order to minimise movement spent retrieving and putting items away. In your house, store things such as cleaning products that are frequently used together in the same location. That way you can retrieve one item as you put back another. Store the most frequently used items in more convenient and accessible locations. Schedule things at convenient times and locations so that you can do things all at once. Structuring life admin tasks on the same day and following the most logical route, minimising waste in motion. This also covers searching for things in a messy environment. A classic example of this is sorting through piles and piles of paperwork to find the one piece of paper that you need to get the job done. This is why a clean environment is key to maximising your efficiency. Waste number 5, overprocessing. Overprocessing in the manufacturing industry is defined as doing anything extra or unnecessary to your end goal. This includes any time you're engaging in a process that has unnecessary steps that don't add value. Examples of overprocessing include excessive cleaning of yourself beyond what is necessary, including excessive washing of hands or extremely long showers, sending long text messages instead of making a quick phone call, filling up your fuel tank only when it's half empty, overcooking your food, pedantically cleaning your dishes, a basic clean is sufficient, sitting on the toilet for longer than necessary, constantly checking the time, oversleeping more than necessary to restore energy. Sometimes oversleeping can actually make you more fatigued than an optimal sleeping duration. The first step is to minimise the overprocessing in your life. The next step is to automate as many processes as possible. Historically, a woman spent the entire day washing clothes, doing dishes, and cooking. The inventions of washing machines, dishwashers, and automated cooking processes or gadgets that aid in food preparation minimise and eliminate waste. Another application is to structure your tasks when you're most efficient. My physical strength peaks in the afternoon, so I exercise during this time. My brain works best on creative matters in the morning and on logical reasoning in the evening. Work to your own strengths to minimise processing effort and time and to maximise efficiency. Finally, if you really want to cut back on this a little further, consider only partially completing tasks that are not important to you. Personally, keeping the house spotless is not essential to me. Don't get me wrong, I keep my house very clean compared to most people's standards. Remember, a clean environment is key to maximising efficiency. My attitude to cleanliness is that an 80% clean is most efficient. I could spend 10 minutes vacuuming the house to get it 100% clean, or I could spend 5 minutes and get it 80% clean. This means that I can clean twice as frequently for the same total duration. Optimise the diminishing returns of the processes that aren't important to you. Waste number 6, inventory. Inventory in the manufacturing industry is defined as an excessive storage of stock in a warehouse. Understand that money today is always worth more than money in the future, provided we're in an inflating economy. This is because money invested in the present will earn interest in the future. Inventory ties up finances, which costs money and interest every single day. There is also a waste associated with sorting, moving, and maintaining the inventory, especially if the inventory requires energy such as refrigeration. There is also a risk that the inventory becomes damaged or deteriorates over time. In your life, you should store as little as possible to avoid the waste associated with excess inventory. This form of waste is actually on a spectrum. Sometimes it's better to order larger quantities of stock if it saves you time. The golden rule is that you must minimise waste over the long term. For me, I order my water in bulk, ordering several $100s of canned water at a time. Every order I make costs me time processing the transaction. I also have to be home for the delivery, which is time spent waiting. The time spent sorting, moving, and storing the excess stock is made up for by the time saved in processing and waiting. Of course, this is not ideal. I wish it were available in the supermarket so I could buy it as I need, but it's not the case. Remember, this one's on a spectrum. Buying $10,000 worth of water will tie up financials for years that would be better spent investing. The similar attitude should be applied to buying a property. Owning a house could be much more of a hassle than renting. In essence, you need to find the balance of inventory and processing specific to you. Generally speaking, the easier the item is to procure and the shorter its lead time, the less inventory you will need to store of it. Weigh up the inventory required against the time it costs you to obtain it in order to maximise the utility of this principle. Waste number 7, transportation. Transportation in the manufacturing industry is defined as an excess motion of work in progress. It differs from motion in that motion is movement of people and transportation is movement of things. If the route is not as direct as it could be, then it is considered a transportation waste. Transportation waste can be minimised or eliminated by performing tasks en route to another destination. Don't go out of your way to fill up your car with fuel. Plan your time and fill up on fuel when you're passing through a service station. Keep your bin below your kitchen sink. Most rubbish should be thrown away from a position close to the kitchen sink. In the supermarket, don't walk all over the place. Go in with your list and walk the shop once to get exactly what you need. Shop locally to minimise the time spent driving and minimise the time spent looking for the right aisle. Carry your groceries in from the car in as fewer trips as possible. Waste number 8, skills. Skills in the manufacturing industry refers to the situation where people and their skills go unused. The idea is that you employ someone with an appropriate amount of skill for the job required. You do not want someone underqualified for obvious reasons, but you also don't want someone overqualified. Neglecting to use people's skills for the value that they bring will cost you time of your own. It will also cost you money as you overpay someone for the skills that aren't being used. The skills of you and those who you have at your disposal should be used as appropriately as possible. You do not want to be doing a task that would take you longer than it would take someone who is better at the job. For example, I don't try to mend my clothes. I'm useless at darning. I get my mum to do it for me, or I send it to a seamstress. These options employ people with far more skills than I have in this area. It's much easier for me to outsource this skill rather than to learn it for myself. You must apply this understanding to your life in order to maximise your productivity. Learn to recognise your own deficiencies and delegate or outsource them as necessary. You just can't do everything yourself and be efficient at the same time. Taking this one step further, even if you are skillful at something, learn to outsource this skill if it's too costly to perform yourself. In every task, there is always an exchange. The desired outcome always comes at a cost. Every task will either cost you time, money, opportunity, or some other overhead or burden, such as emotional or physical burden. You must objectively determine the cost of every task and outsource it accordingly. For example, I'm more than capable of servicing my own car, having done nearly 100 services since I was 18. Even though I can do this skill, I pay someone to do it because I can earn more money in the same time trading crypto. The cost of driving up to the auto store, changing into old clothes, jacking up the car, servicing it to its requirements, cleaning up, and then disposing of the waste cost me approximately 4 hours, where I could pay someone approximately $200 to do it in 2 hours. The mechanic will employ all of the 8 waste management techniques in order to minimise the time spent servicing on my car that I can't do because I'm not set up for it. For me, it makes more sense to outsource a $200 service that takes 2 hours than for me to spend 4 hours, because 1 hour of my time is worth so much more than $50 an hour. You will have your own idea of what your time is worth. It's not what you're getting paid per hour. It's a lot more than that, especially if you're expecting a large income increase in the future. Your time is worth the money you believe you'll be paid in the future, plus opportunity cost, plus any other cost to your ability to earn money in the future. In addition to this, you'll need to add a margin for error, mistakes, and unforeseeable circumstances. Let's say I value my time at $600 an hour. Adding a 20% margin for error means that I'll sell my time for $750 an hour. Any task that costs less than $750 an hour will be outsourced. The more you value, the more aggressive your margin should be. Understand, the more you minimize waste and refine your time, the more value your time has, and the higher your threshold should become. As this threshold increases, so too should your delegating and outsourcing. Keys to lean thinking. Once you work out the most efficient way to perform a process, always do things in the same way and in the same order. This saves valuable processing time. Once you become familiar with a process, you'll be able to speed up the rate at which you complete tasks. It will also allow you to clearly see the activities that crop up as non-value add. This is where routines come into their own. Think long-term and do things right the first time. The momentary time you save from doing a job half-assed will cost you more in the long run. Fix problems as they are discovered, also known as jidoka. This will minimise the need to revisit them later. Always be working on work that you had planned to complete in advance. This is known as haijunka. The downstream process pulls material or work from the upstream process. This minimises chaos and allows work to be done in a controlled time frame. Genshi Genbutsu, Japanese for real location, real thing, is a concept that emphasises that sometimes it's better to be in the real location in order to solve a problem, rather than theorising remotely. Often when dealing with an important issue, it is far more efficiently dealt with when the individual is in the real location of the problem. Only by going to the area can you observe and fully understand the situation. Always question if further optimisation can be achieved. This is the essence of Kaizen or continuous improvement. Thanks for watching today's episode. In episode 80, I'll discuss the importance of keeping your options open. Subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when it drops. Catch you then.